This is crazy.
What?
Who posted this? Also, let me know if I owe you anyone gift cards or whatever.
Probably.
I'm not really good at keeping up with that. But I thought this was interesting, this case that we're talking about tonight, because it's sort of Halloween themed, and we're getting to that point. Plus,
We are.
as you guys know, I'm covering Herr Baumeister. I haven't put those episodes out yet, but he's from Dayton, Ohio, even though that's not where he committed his crimes, but that's where he is from. So I was like, cool, that's another connection. So I'll do this case. It's a small case.
All right.
Not much known about it because it's unsolved. A missing person. George Phillip Gall is who we're talking about tonight. As you see, it says in loving memory. However, his body was never found. And as you see, this photo is pretty old.
Yeah.
So this is a missing person case from quite a while ago.
Okay.
1994, when he went missing. It does get really interesting. It's not just one of those boring missing persons cases. So we're going to go through his day and try to figure out where he went, right? October 13th, 1994, Dayton, Ohio. This 26-year-old Phillip Gall gets in a fight with his wife, newlywed, and they have one child together. He is an electrician handyman. Long day at work, comes home. The damn food isn't on the table. Okay. And the house isn't clean. He's been working all day. It was just one of those things. Anyway, he wants to blow off some steam.
Some steam.
Nothing odd about that. So he didn't want to take the family car because that'd be screwed up. So what he does is he walks out of his house and he goes towards the bus stop. He boards the RTA bus near Huffman Street and Seminary Avenue. Near Huffman Street and Seminary Avenue, he's last seen by the bus driver. The bus driver tells police that he sees this man get off at one of the bus stops and walk towards a nightclub. This nightclub is on South Main Street. It's no longer there, but let me see if we can pull it up, the location. The nightclub is called Asylum. This story takes place in 1994, so this place is long gone, but this is kind of where it would be, somewhere over here. Actually, I wonder if that's it. It kind of looks like an old nightclub. Let me look it up right quick. Asylum, Dayton, Ohio. Remember, Dayton's hottest club, the 90s at the Asylum reunion, is a dance club on Patterson Road in downtown Dayton. Man, where's all the photos, though? Let's see. Damn, the thing's effing huge. Anyway, sex club. So this guy, Phillip Gall, he gets off the bus there and he is last seen walking towards the nightclub. Now, at the time, as you saw there, I don't know if you saw the Marilyn Manson post, but like he would play there. It was a dance club, but it was more goth themed, and in that whole scene, which was weird for this guy because this guy is preppy type of guy, would not ever go to a goth club, especially a dance club. I mean, this guy has a wife and a child at home, and you saw his photo. He does not look like he's going to be on the dance floor. That's the last time anyone ever sees this guy. His mother goes to the police, and the police try to help all they can, but no one knows where this guy is. Eventually, they go to a psychic, and the psychic says that his remains are out in a body of water. They're somewhere in a body of water. That's all she would say. That's all she could see. Okay, so we don't know what happened to this guy. And this was in 1994. Now, enter 2008, when a retired Dayton police lieutenant detective who was on the case comes forward with some new information. The guy is basically retired, and he's just like, whatever, let me see if I can solve this now. Let me put this information forward of what happened when I went to Asylum, the nightclub, and asked questions about where this guy was. The psychic revelation is interesting on this because underneath Dayton, Ohio, is 800 miles of sewer. It is, as one homeless person put it, a quote, city under a city. From Dayton Daily News in 2008, one homeless man who spoke anonymously said, quote, I've walked back in there a quarter of a mile. He's talking about the underground sewers, 800 miles of sewers. And he's talking about some spots, they're as big as a stadium. They're open open and they're wide and completely dark because no light enters. Anyway, going back to what he said in this interview, this is a homeless man anonymous. I've walked back there in a quarter of a mile. It gets really dark in there. You can't see. You fear for your life. You never know what might come up out of that tunnel. We found rats scurrying on the tunnel floor, but it's surprisingly clean, cool, and quiet. Another homeless woman said, quote, I sleep in there. I lay the cardboard down, build it like a house, and sleep in it. The woman said that she has seen several rapes that occurred and witnessed drug abuse. Another man said criminals will go down there. Quote, if the criminals don't get you, the water will. The reason this is important is because there's an access point right by Club Asylum to get inside those tunnels. One sewer worker said, quote, if there was a sudden shower, the pipe would fill up fast and you'd be washed into the river and gone. The bus driver didn't see Philip walk into the club, so perhaps he ended up in the sewer somehow. 800 miles, and it's dark. There's a lot of crime down there, and people do live down there.
Oh.
It reminds me a lot of the story we covered in Michigan with the Tom Hanks story. Remember? He did that movie with the Dungeons and Dragons guy.
Yep.
They found this guy. I think they found him. I can't remember.
Yes.
In the sewers. A lot of college kids will go from Ohio University. They'll go down into the sewers and just drink and stuff. I mean, 800 miles, and it's the reason I'm saying that is because Philip, this missing man, could have found his way into the sewers. And one sewer worker who escorted Dayton News into the storm tunnel said, quote, if there was a sudden shower, this pipe would fill up fast and you'd be washed into the river and gone. The psychic said that his remains are somewhere in a body of water. That is what she said, which is, could be.
Yeah.
Okay. So David Williams, the retired detective, lieutenant who was on the case, comes out in 2008. Now, remember, this disappearance was in 1994, so that is, 14 years later. He is, at this time, since Philip went missing and was pronounced deceased, David Williams, the retired detective, had become a nationally recognized expert on occult and gang affiliations and occultism, right? So going back, October 13th, 1994, Phillip Gall, 26, gets in a fight with his wife. He needed to cool off. The bus driver says he gets off at this club Asylum, which is an emo dance club, and the police actually run down the lead that he may be in the sewer, which the nightclub has a main access point to the sewer. Okay. 2008, this retired detective comes out and he says, I'm just going to tell you what I was told when I went the next day into the dance club and started asking questions about where this man is. All right. He says he talked to the bartender. Now, this is a police lieutenant, retired detective, who is nationally acclaimed for his study in the occult.
Okay.
All right. And he's still being used, a lot of credibility with this guy. Mm-hmm. He says he goes to the bartender and shows him the picture of Phillip Gall. Do you know this man? Have you seen this man? I know there's hundreds of people in here, but this guy, he's not like them. He's not dressed in all black. He doesn't have chains and this stuff. This is a normal dude. Have you seen him? The bartender says, I've definitely seen this guy. I'll never forget this face. I know this face. I'll never forget this face. Well, what do you mean you'll never forget this face? The bartender tells this detective that he can never forget that face because it was wrapped in plastic and it was brought down into the main area when no one was there and sold to an occult collector. His face, his severed head was in a bag wrapped in plastic, and the bartender saw the transaction between not the owner, but some actor in this club and an occult collector. No names were given. Mm-hmm. This is a very gothic, dark type, a lot of dark people, right? Mm-hmm. Very mysterious type of thing. So this bartender, Quote, this is from the Dayton Daily News, the ones who did this interview with him in 2008. From retired detective David Williams, quote, he, the bartender, said that he saw the head transferred in the bar for sale. The head was the only thing that he saw, and that's why he remembers the face, obviously. So this, the head, that's all it was. What do you think? Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see that coming?
No.
Why do you think? What's the deal? Like, any thoughts? 1 second.
Well, I keep thinking what else could be down there, you know?
Now, this is in the club. This is what the detective is saying. He's talking about in the club. So now the detective who has been studying the occultism and stuff like this for years, this is what he's coming out and saying. The reason that we're even talking about this story is because Netflix spent the last 3 years, producing a documentary about this guy missing and his disappearance and linked it to a vampire cult. Dayton, Ohio has the second largest population of vampires, of covens.
What?
Witches and vampire covens.
What's the first?
Oh, I don't know. I should have looked that up. No, that's a good question.
But also, like, that's a legitimate, like, fact, statistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that we're able to count them?
Yeah. I think there was like 50,000 in...
What?
Hold on, let me see. How many vampires live in Dayton, Ohio? Now, vampires, that's a real thing, right? I mean, obviously, they don't need the blood to sustain life, but we've covered...
Forks, Washington?
We've covered stories...
Indeed, we have.
Where they do these rituals and they do drink blood. So if there is a big population, then...
But we've never talked about one where it was a group together. In
a 2015...
I don't think.
In a 2015 survey by the Atlanta Vampire Alliance...
What the fuck? Who are these people?
Who are these vampires?
Do they sparkle?
Okay, in a 2015 survey by the Atlanta Vampire Alliance, they estimated that 5,000 people in the entire U.S. practice vampirism.
What does this even mean to people? Are they drinking people's blood?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Now, I've done a little bit of other research, and
I feel like they should just get some iron supplements. If they have a desire to drink blood, I feel like they are iron deficient and they should get that checked out.
Well, all right. So this is from the...
You're ruining this for me.
This is from USA Today. A vampire with a day job inside the life of an Ohio woman who identifies as a vampire.
They identify as a vampire.
It is what it is, man. All right.
Okay.
Quote,
I'll just play along with it.
Quote, oh, you know how like gay people is like, oh, I finally came out of the closet? This woman says...
They came out of the coffin?
This is what she says. Quote, I finally came out of the coffin.
Where is Jen when you need her? I know she would be talking about that show, the something about the shadows. What was it?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And it was like the weird comedy about vampires.
Yeah, Along the Shadows.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. So this woman here says, quote, I came out of the coffin, as it were, and I never felt so free in my life.
I feel like I just want to feel my own like
Look
things.
at her. This is Helly Schweitzer. She is a real life vampire.
Good for you. Kind of looks like Anna Kendrick, but with a lot of makeup and fangs.
She's a 28-year-old woman who identifies as a vampire, who wears fangs and makeup with red lipstick with a, quote, phoenix eye punctuated by red, orange, and yellow, and a beak and a tail. She also wears a white shirt with flowy sleeves and a black cape. Quote, it's my go-to look. From the time that she was young, quote, I've always been all about vampires. Now, I think my favorite book is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
Not the movies. Fuck the movies. The movies they don't do it justice. If you read the book, it is the most creepiest book you have ever read.
I don't think I could read it.
Freaking Hollywood has ruined Dracula. They have ruined it. I want to suck your blood. They fucking ruined it. That book has nothing of that shit in it. That book is about Dracula in a castle and then Jonathan Harker as a, reporter. And it is the most creepiest fucking book you've ever read. When Jonathan Harker was going towards the castle, because I think he was like doing a survey at the castle or something, and he was summoned by Dracula, right? Count Dracula. When he was going there in the, the horse-drawn carriages, and Stoker really does a great job of making this seem really creepy, but all the village folk would go like this. They would put crosses with their fingers and like point it at him. And stuff like that is just so creepy, right?
Yeah.
And like being in the castle and just day after night after night and seeing little things. I mean, Hollywood has ruined it. I'm telling you. You got to read the book. Anyway, quote, vampires and witches get along famously. Well, there's another word I can't fucking say. Famously.
We're Shram. Add it to the list.
And they run in similar circles. Quote, not every vampire is bad, attacking people or offering human sacrifices. Quote, I follow a higher path. So 5,000 people in the United States identify as real vampires, and some of them do drink blood from willing donors, and other ones, the bad ones, even do human sacrifice, which is what the Netflix angle of the documentary is going to be, or was going to be. They spent 3 years producing it, and then they pulled the plug at the last minute. I don't know why. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was something. Like maybe they found something, but Netflix is not one to pull punches if they find something interesting. So I think they just let's can it. But so they're not doing the documentary, but they were. It was probably going to be released here in the next week, right before Halloween. But it was called the documentary would have been called. Let's see, what was the documentary? It was going to be called Vampires of Gem City, and they were going to explore the disappearance and also the vampiric angle. Dayton, Ohio, has been the home to the largest coven of vampires outside of New Orleans. Well, that makes sense. True Blood, and we should have known that, right?
Yeah, but that's a show.
But it's still, I
would have said Forks, Washington.
Really? Louisiana, you got all that voodoo cults.
I'm just saying. It was a joke because that was where Twilight was.
Oh, well, a lot of stuff happens like Louisiana. Remember we played Resident Evil and that was in Louisiana?
Yeah.
A lot of like weird shit is in Louisiana. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of weird shits in South Carolina too.
All right. That's not the only theory though. According to the bartender, this guy's head was handed off for sale and wrapped in plastic, and he saw his face. Okay. There's a group of New York City detectives that came out and had another theory. They went and did their own research and found something near the Asylum nightclub, which is no longer in business. Mm-hmm. Something near there that pointed to a serial killer. This group has been known, it's a bunch of old retired detectives. They've been known for pushing this theory of the smiley face killers. Mm-hmm. Remember the smiley face? Like every time you see, someone goes missing, mostly males, and there's usually a smiley face, like either graffitied or something.
Yep.
In fact, around this time, there were 40 other missing people who have never been found around this same time.
A lot.
So there may be a validity there with what the bartender said. Mm-hmm. Like, could there have been a human sacrifice? Because there are bad vampires. Mm-hmm. They could have sacrificed Phillip Gall, who no one would ever expect, because why would he ever be in that place anyway? Mm-hmm. He's out of place. They grab him up, take him upstairs, sacrifice him, and then they sell the head, after they drink the blood and all that. That's what this detective is going for, and that's what that is what the Netflix documentary was going to be about. But yeah, honestly, that's all we know about the case. There's nothing else. That, and then the next news was the Netflix documentary, but it's not coming out. So
I wonder why.
There's no reason. They didn't give a reason. But the Netflix crew, and they do projects all over the place, right? But they spent 3 years on this.
That seems weird that they would just scrap it.
Interviewing the family. The family's actually really upset about it because they don't care about. They're probably not even getting paid. They don't care about that. They just want to get a story
out.
Like the mother and father. Think about it, the father is going to die not knowing what happened to his son. You know what I'm saying? So they just want to know, and they're old now, but they just want to know what happened. And this is the way, because Netflix could do a good job of like making it public.
I actually thought when you were starting this that this was somehow connected to old Herbie.
Hold on.
No?
Hold on. Let me just...
I mean, I know he wasn't at a gay bar, but I was thinking about, I was like, what year? I know he was in Indiana, Ohio. I mean, that's like not terribly far away, you know? Indiana and Ohio, not far. Couple hours drive.
In
If that.
In 1994, the police began investigating Herb Baumeister as a potential killer.
This happened in 1996?
This happened in 1994. And that's not all with Herb Baumeister. It goes a lot weirder than the story that we presented when we first started this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is actually known as 2 other killers, not just the Fox Hollow Farm gay bar killer, but there's some other killings that he did that no one ever know, but they think that he did. One was not even with gay people. One of them was with women, random killing of women. And they think Herb Baumeister orchestrated all those. So honestly, I would not put it past him. He is from Ohio. He could have easily grabbed this guy up, because at that point he was going back and forth, and he would take all these long drives by himself. He could have easily, and he would go by the bus stops. Maybe.
Yeah, I thought you were telling this story as another Herb Baumeister case.
No, I just said there's a connection between the Dayton, Ohio. I'm telling the story because someone requested it. I don't know who.
Interesting.
Someone requested it. Let's see. And I've been doing a lot of my own requests lately, so I...
Could have been you.
No. So I felt kind of bad, so I wanted to do someone else's story. Cherry Fairy, Andalyn.
All right.
Yeah, so she requested it. The article says documentary in the works, but it's recently been scrapped. Yeah, it says, quote, for the last 30 years, Dayton, Ohio has been home to the largest coven of vampires outside New Orleans. When a man goes missing in the goth nightclub they use as their headquarters, the case goes cold until a police officer comes forward in 2008 with a story. So, I mean, dude, and there was one dinky little interview with this detective. Like, that's all I could find. Like, I wish, Netflix has like the whole fucking story, man. Like, I would love to fucking, I don't know, man. It would be so cool if they fucking at least release all their research, man, Yeah. Because I'd love to do it.
That's really interesting.
Anyway, that's the case of him. The Netflix thing was going to be focused more on the coven, right? Because it's kind of weird. But, yeah. I mean, possibly. And that psychic said he's in the river somewhere. So, they cut his head off. They do this sacrifice, and then they throw him in the tunnels. He gets swept out to the river,
Crazy.
Anyway, kind of a weird case. Not much on it, but I thought it was kind of interesting.
Gets us into the spooky spirit for Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope you guys like this new format. Like, I want to do more live streams, like little episodes while I'm researching a big case. Like, I'm doing Herb Baumeister, like a big case. And then once I get that, so you guys get more content. That's like what I've been trying to do.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm happy if you're happy.
Yeah, I'm happy.
All right.
I mean, if you guys are still here, I'll keep doing it.
Well, there you go.
So we'll see you tomorrow, obviously, for headlines. So hope you guys enjoy. Until next time, good night, you lovely, lovely people.
Kind of run this shit.